I'm Rosine Kouamen. I am an artist living and practicing in Houston, Texas. The title came to me before even the components of it came. And the title is the cannibalization of the Black woman, of Black women. And it came to me, with quarantine, social media, all of that. And I was in a project a few years ago about Sandra Bland, say her name here in Houston. So it's kind of like you just keep seeing the cycle repeat itself. And I kind of thought about that. And then these constant conversation that kind of loop around in social media about cultural appropriation. And it's always fascinating to me because a lot of it, it's really about like Black female culture being like appropriated and becoming mainstream, and then like getting flipped over, and then people are just like, no, this is perfectly fine, and you're like, but not really. So that's kind of why I call it like the cannibalization, right? It's kind of like this, you expect, right, you hold Black women to be these figures that never waver, always achieve their goals, that are always strong and kind of like an infinite wealth of spirituality and soul and hope. But on the other hand, you don't really feed into it. You don't like give them anything to like keep being that, right? So you're constantly like taking from them, and that's kind of how the idea. And in my mind, I was like, how do I represent that? Like, how do I talk about it? I thought about banners, right? These commemorative, I know big words, I can't say them, but these commemorative things that you see in stadiums, in these like very male dominated areas, right? You see them in stadiums. There are things that we use at war. There are things that are used to honor our fallen. There are things that are meant to be like directions to certain things. And I kind of wanted to use that imagery in that way. Because I think that like sometimes we want to fit in so much into the art world that we are not very direct about our imagery and our speech and what we want to say because we're so afraid to be ostracized. But in this case, I really didn't care. I was just like, we got to talk about this. And that's really how I'm taking it. So the other part of the work, so you have the banners, and then I want to do a performance with like a bunch of people where I kind of write this. I'm thinking more along of like a musical score, a symphony that has like all the parts, all the way to the crescendo at the end. But I want it to be voices, like people saying things. In some point, it sounds like you're actually following conversation, but then it completely breaks down into something else. Kind of this like performative piece that is not coherent, but gives you the illusion of being like a unified piece. Anyway, that's kind of like the idea that I have, and that's the script that I keep mentioning. So those are kind of like how these ideas come to be.